organization has advised all relevant regulators in Nigeria to ensure that e-hailing drivers and customers are protected during all rides. It comes after gunmen shot dead an e-hailing cab driver in Port Harcourt. The chairman of RIFSCO, Enefa George Will, spoke of the need for e-hailing companies to link the bank accounts of customers to their apps as a way of guaranteeing safety.
The Rivers State Civil Society organizations call on the Commissioner of Police Rivers to checkmate the incessant killing of drivers of Bolt, Uber, and other ride-hailing companies in Rivers State. For us, the death of Raphael Ogun a few days ago is one death too many. Rivers equally call on ride-hailing companies in Nigeria to implement a customer verification process to protect their driver. Customers verification could simply be a bank account number verification from the customers. We are simply saying every Bolt, Uber, and ride-hailing account should have at least one bank account of the customer linked to it. Finally, we call on all road transport regulators to ensure that compliance to safety regulation are strictly adhered to. The safety of drivers is as important as the safety of the customers.
Well, as you may know, a man identified as Donald Toby says the victim was his elder brother. In a Facebook post, he gave the victim's name as Toby Raphael Dagogo. He said the gunman shot his brother at close range and took away his vehicle and other personal belongings. Mr. Toby said the incident happened on Tuesday. He shared photos of the stolen vehicle, asking anyone with information to call 091 507 08210. Well, the police have not spoken on this. The closing of Ras SDP campaign council in the just concluded elections, Bethel Okojaja, says some politicians are with weapons during elections and turning them into cult leaders.
Some politicians have hands in it. I also think the major causes of cultism in Rivers State and anywhere is unemployment, poverty. People capitalize on poverty and begin to give these people wrong orientation, and before you realize, they will take the arms and become cultists. The other thing that I think contribute to it is environment. Their influence is a major factor, but government should be able to step up. Politicians, some of them arm people during election, and by the time they are done with it, they become gang leaders, and you can't even receive what you have given to them.
But Dr. Okojaja further called on the private sector to also contribute their quota in reducing crime.
Private sector should also contribute in ensuring that people are gainfully employed so that this menace will be reduced to the barest minimum. If they are gainfully employed, I don't think they will do that. So in totality, you don't just blame it on politicians alone. You also blame it on the people in the private sector. In some places, you'll see one person doing the responsibility of three persons, and that refers to lack of employment.
Moving on now, police in Anambra State say they have rescued two individuals who were kidnapped during Tuesday's attack on the U.S. consulate convoy in Ogbaru local government area. A brief statement by spokesman for the Anambra State Police Command, DSP Ikenga Tochukwu, said the rescue took place early this morning. He said tactical operations are still ongoing and further details shall be communicated. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has expressed displeasure with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's phone call to the president-elect Bola Tinubu, saying that its basis lacked clarity. Mr. Obi, in a tweet today, said the 2023 presidential election was still being contested in the court, and the U.S. was expected to await the outcome of the ongoing judicial processes before conferring legitimacy on any of the contending parties. He said the United States should not respond to political developments in Nigeria in a manner that faintly suggests taking sides. The acting national chairman, Labour Party, Lamidi Apapa, has kept his word on returning to the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal following his attempt on Wednesday. Mr. Apapa was spotted seated at the back of the courtroom as opposed to the area reserved for Labour Party representatives. Well, this comes after his brief appearance at the tribunal 2 days ago, where he attempted to occupy one of the seats reserved for Labour Party leaders. Also present when the tribunal resumed today was the presidential candidate of the party, Peter Obi, who exchanged pleasantries with counsel to the respondents. Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike says the demolition of the Bayelsa State government property in ODRA Port Harcourt was done to rid the area of hideouts used by criminals. Governor Wike said this while inaugurating the Rumuesera Community Internal Roads in Eneka Town in Obiakpo local government area yesterday. Now, the governor accused the Bayelsa State government of persistent hostility to Rivers State. He said every friendly engagement with the Bayelsa State government over shared property of the old Rivers State has been greeted with a harsh tone. Well, Governor Wike, however, directed the contractor handling the work at the government secondary school, Eneka, to return to site and complete the project within the next 1 week, or the state government will be compelled to arrest and jail him. Well, Governor Wike said the delay on the work is deliberate, knowing that the present administration has just a few days of stay in office. And earlier, Governor Nyesom Wike spoke to journalists at the Port Harcourt International Airport on his arrival from Europe yesterday. The governor said he has no apology for the demolition of properties belonging to the Bayelsa State government in Port Harcourt. He said the lands will be used to build residential quarters for judges.
I spoke to my colleague, the governor of Bayelsa State, severally. And I said, look, better renovate or bring it down or build a new thing for your state. We're not claiming that the property belongs to us. But we have a right to talk about development in our state. 2021 in August, not only did I write a letter to him in all our meetings, if you cannot develop it, you can sell the property back to the Rivers State government. We are willing to develop it, but we cannot allow that property to be the way it is. It's unfortunate. You do something today, they say, oh, because he did not support you for president. What is all this?
Well, as you may know, the Rivers State government on Friday last week demolished 2 buildings belonging to the Bayelsa State government at numbers 5 and 9 Akasa Street, Old GRA Port Harcourt. It said the buildings were constituting nuisance. Still ahead, National Assembly to meet with resident doctors leaders today. Stay tuned. Thank you for staying with us. The National Assembly has invited the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, to a meeting over its strike action. NARD President Innocent Orji said he received an invitation to attend a meeting with the leadership of the National Assembly yesterday, where Dr. Orji, in an interview, said his association has had no negotiation with the federal government since the strike started. People who have hypertension will not likely have symptoms until it causes serious damage. A cardiologist, Okeobo Fidelis, made this known to correspondent Martha Okere while speaking on the need for people to regularly check their blood pressure and seek medical help. Well, Dr. Fidelis said hypertension is a silent killer.
Mostly people that have hypertension will not know and they will not have any symptom. And we used to say, let it not be stroke, let it not be heart failure, sudden kidney failure, or the person will sleep. Any of these things happen in the sleep and the person doesn't wake up. When that happens, people can't explain it and they say it's village people. And if that person was checking, they would have known that he's hypertensive. If he knows he's hypertensive, the chance that he's going to seek for treatment become higher.
But Dr. Fidelis said people who believe that once they start taking blood pressure medications, they will continue to take it for the rest of their lives, should not use that as an excuse not to seek medical help.
You have a problem, you say you don't want to solve it because if you start solving it, later you continue to solve it. So you rather wait that the problem kills the person instead of doing something to control the problem. For now, we do not have cure for BP. What we do have, whether you're a president, you're the governor, it doesn't matter. If you have BP, you have to control it. There is no cure yet. If there is need for drug, at the time you start those medications, most of the medication are taken once or twice. You won't stop.
Well, Dr. Fidelis also spoke on prevent hypertension.
They like this alcohol, stop tobacco, manage stress, reduce salt in your diet. Do all this and exercise regularly, at least 150 minutes in a week, of about at least 4 to 5 times in a week, then you do this, you'll be able to reduce, one, it can reduce the blood pressure, two, it can prevent blood pressure from developing on time. To monitor the BP, and if it goes up, see a doctor. If they prescribe medication, the medication are not the enemy, they are your help. Take the medication.
Well, another medical expert, Kelechi Okonta, advised people against seeking alternative medicine, especially supplements, to cure hypertension.
As a matter of fact, those supplements in some cases could indeed increase the blood pressure, and it has happened because those supplements, people don't know what are their consequences. They just go up it, stabbing effect. But what is important is that when hypertension is identified, or if you have some of these small symptoms, go to a clinic. Just like they say, know your figures, where a sphygmomanometer will be used to monitor your blood pressure at different times. The doctors will advise you better on those.
Well, the world marked Hypertension Day on Wednesday with the theme, Measure Your Blood Pressure Accurately, Control It, Live Longer. In other news now, Richard Montgomery has resumed as British High Commissioner in Nigeria. Mr. Montgomery presented his letter of credence to President Muhammadu Buhari at the State House in Abuja yesterday. He takes over from Catriona Laing, who concluded her 4-year tenure in the country. In business, the Federation Account Allocation Committee, FAC, has shared 655.932 billion naira as of April to federal, state and local governments. But this was contained in a communique issued at the end of the FAC meeting for May 2023. Well, the amount includes gross statutory revenue, value-added tax, exchange gain, electronic money transfer levies, and augmentations from forex and non-oil mineral revenue. In entertainment, Afrobeats singer Davido has spoken about his relationship with American musician Chris Brown. In a recent podcast, Davido said he has a close relationship with Chris Brown, whom he has collaborated with on different occasions. The hitmaker also said he loves being in the studio with Chris Brown, and they have recorded over 10 songs together. And in sports, Jose Mourinho's Roma reached the Europa League final by holding Bayer Leverkusen to a victory.
And now, we'll bring you news from around the world.
Zimbabwe has released about a fifth of all prisoners under a presidential amnesty order meant to decongest the country's overcrowded jails. The Zimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Service said more than 4,000 inmates, mostly men, were let out in what it described as a noble gesture, while violent criminals as well as those convicted of robbery, treason and public order offences were not included. Prisons in Zimbabwe are suffering from extreme overcrowding. The move comes ahead of general elections in August. And that's the news. But before we go, another look at the major stories. On the news this afternoon, you heard that a car snatching gang were apprehended in Port Harcourt as they attempted to flee the scene. Gunmen have shot dead an e-hailing cab driver in Port Harcourt. Police have rescued 2 persons abducted during the attack on the U.S. Embassy staff in Anambra State. And Governor Nyesom Wike has justified the demolition of properties of Bayelsa State government in Port Harcourt. Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi has faulted the U.S. Secretary of State's call to President-elect Bola Tinubu. And on the foreign scene, Zimbabwe has pardoned over 4,000 prisoners to decongest jails. The news was edited by Martha Okere Nkem. Cloudy weather in Port Harcourt this afternoon. Peace is the path to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. My name is Constance Mega. Thank you so much for listening. And do stay tuned. Coming up next is The Sunny Side.
Stay on track with Nigeria Info.